So, continuing our discussion on the principle of centrifugation, in a suspension of biological particles, the rate of sedimentation, that is V, is dependent not only upon the applied centrifugal field but also on the nature of the particles. That is, its density rho p, its hydrodynamic radius r hydro, and also the density, that is rho m, and viscosity eta of the surrounding medium. That means the rate of sedimentation is dependent not only upon the applied centrifugal field but also on the nature of the particle. So, the nature of the particle, when we say or speak about the nature of the particle, it is the density of the particle, its hydrodynamic radius, and also the density and viscosity of the surrounding medium. Now we have Stokes' law, which describes this relationship for the sedimentation of a rigid spherical particle. So the equation gives you the relationship for the sedimentation of a rigid spherical particle. If you just carefully look at the equation, where V is the sedimentation rate of the sphere, R hydro is the radius of the particle, rho p is the density of the particle, rho m is the density of medium, g is the gravitational acceleration, and eta is the viscosity of the medium. Now what has to be remembered over here is the R hydro, which is the radius of the particle, depend on the shape of the particle, right? So accordingly, a mixture of biological particles exhibiting an approximately spherical shape can now be separated in a centrifugal field based on their density and or their size. So the time of sedimentation, which is given in seconds for a spherical particle, is given in the following equation. Now in this equation, where T is the sedimentation time, eta is the viscosity of the medium, R hydro is the hydrodynamic radius of the particle, RB is the radial distance from the center of rotation to bottom of the centrifuge tube, RT is the radial distance from the center of rotation to liquid meniscus, rho p is the density of the particle, rho m is the density of the medium, and omega is the angular velocity of the rotor. Right. So the sedimentation rate or velocity of a biological particle can also be expressed as its sedimentation coefficient. So the sedimentation coefficient is given by V over omega square times R, which is measured in the units of time, that is seconds. Since the sedimentation rate per unit centrifugal field can be determined at different temperatures and also with various media of different densities and viscosities. The experimental values of the sedimentation coefficient, so it has to be corrected or normalized for comparison purposes to standard solvent conditions, right? So the standard conditions are the density and viscosity of water at 20 degree centigrade, and the symbol used for this normalized or correctness sedimentation coefficient is S20, W, that is the density and viscosity of water at 20 degree centigrade. Now, most important is this S20W will depend on the size and shape or conformation of the macromolecule. If you just recollect what we discussed in the previous slide, the R hydro, that is the radius of the particle, will depend on the shape of the particle. And now the standard conditions, that is density and viscosity of water, that is S20W, will depend on size and shape or conformation of the macromolecule. So essentially, in the process of centrifugation or the technique of centrifugation, most of the parameters are dependent on size and shape or conformation of the biological particle or the macromolecule. The sedimentation coefficients, whether it is corrected or non-corrected, of biological macromolecules, they are relatively small and are usually expressed as Swedberg units denoted as capital S. So experimentally, 1 Swedberg unit equals 10 raised to the power of minus 13 S. Right. So moving further, centrifugation technique takes a central position in modern biochemical, cellular and molecular biological studies. Depending on the particular application, now the centrifuges differ in their overall design and size. What we discussed so far is about the principle of or the working principle of the centrifuge, and now we will be discussing about the types of the centrifuges. So depending on the particular application, centrifuges differ in their overall design and size. However, a common feature in all centrifuges is that there is a central motor that spins a rotor containing the samples or analytes or mixture of analytes to be separated. That means there is a central motor that spins a rotor which contains samples to be separated. Now, the particles of biochemical interest are usually suspended in a liquid buffer system, which are contained in specific tubes. You call it as centrifuge tubes or sometimes separation chambers. And these tubes or separation chambers are located in specialized rotors. The biological medium is chosen for the specific centrifugal application and may differ considerably between preparative and analytical approaches. The most obvious difference between centrifuges are given over here. The maximum speed at which biological specimens are subjected to increased sedimentation, the presence or absence of a vacuum, the potential for refrigeration or general manipulation of the temperature during a centrifugation run, the maximum volume of samples and capacity for individual centrifugation tubes. So we are trying to understand the most obvious differences between centrifuges. So the centrifuges differ with respect to the maximum speed at which biological specimens are subjected to increased sedimentation. They do differ with respect to presence or absence of a vacuum system. There could be differences with respect to potential for refrigeration or general manipulation of the temperature during a centrifugation run, and the size of the sample volume, that is maximum volume of samples and capacity for individual centrifugation tubes. And there are many different types of centrifuges which are commercially available, and these include: number one, large capacity low speed preparative centrifuges. Large capacity here refer to the maximum volume of samples. Large capacity low speed preparative centrifuges. Number two, preparative high speed ultra centrifuges. Number three, refrigerated preparative centrifuges or ultra centrifuges. Number four, analytical ultra centrifuges. Number five, large scale clinical centrifuges. Number six, small scale laboratory microfuges. So some of these types of centrifuges can also be seen in our laboratory. So moving further, now our discussion will be on the rotor system. In this figure, you can see the design of the three main types of rotor used in routine biochemical centrifugation techniques. Figure A, B and C. You can observe there is a significant differences between the three main type of rotor which are routinely used in biochemical centrifugation techniques. To illustrate the difference, this figure outlines the cross-sectional or the cross section of rotor system, and the companies usually name these rotors according to their design type. Number two, the maximum allowable speed, and sometimes the material composition. That means the material that is used for making the rotors. Now, understanding each one of them, to begin with, fixed angle rotors, that is, these are an ideal tool for pelleting during the differential separation of biological particles, wherein the sedimentation rates differ significantly. So you can see in the figure A, these are ideal for pelleting of biological particles where the sedimentation rates differ significantly. So there should be a significant difference between sedimentation rate with respect to the biological particles within the mixture. Say for example, when separating nuclei, mitochondria and microsomes. So definitely all these three have a different sedimentation rate. So in addition, isopycnic banding, or we call it as matching density, where the density of the substance matches that of the gradient at that radial position. So this may also be routinely performed with fixed angle rotors. So number one, the fixed angle rotors are used for pelleting during differential separation of biological particles where sedimentation rates differ significantly from one another. And it can also be used in isopycnic banding, where the density of the substance matches that of the gradient at that radial position. So for isopycnic separation, centrifugation is continued until the biological particles of interest have reached their isopycnic position in a gradient. Now this means that the particle has reached a position where the sedimentation rate is 0. Why it is 0? Simple understanding is because the density of the biological particle and the surrounding medium, that is density of biological particle as well as the density of the surrounding medium, are equal. Rho p is equal to rho m. That is the reason why the particle has reached a position where the sedimentation rate is 0. Now if you carefully observe the figure A, centrifugation tubes are held at a fixed angle of between 14 to 40 degrees to the vertical in this class of rotor, that is in fixed angle rotor. So what happens in the process of centrifugation? Particles move radially outwards, and since the centrifugal field is exerted at an angle, we saw that it is between 14 degree and 40 degree. Since the particles are moving radially outward and the centrifugal field is exerted at an angle, they only have to travel a short distance until they reach their isopycnic position in a gradient before colliding with the outer wall of the centrifuge tube. Right. In comparison to figure A, that is fixed angle rotors, in vertical rotors, which is given in figure B, the vertical rotors may be divided into true vertical rotors and near vertical rotors. So there are two types of vertical rotors: true vertical rotors and near vertical rotors. Now sealed centrifuge tubes are held parallel to the axis of rotation in vertical rotors and are restrained in the rotor cavities by screws, special washers and plugs. So since samples are not separated down the length of the centrifuge tube but across the diameter of the tube, isopycnic separation time is significantly shorter as compared to swinging bucket rotors. In contrast to fixed angle rotors, near vertical rotors exhibit a reduced tube angle of 7 degrees to 10 degrees. So the reduced angle results in much shorter run times as compared to fixed angle rotors. So if you are looking for shorter run times, so the best choice is near vertical rotors. So near vertical rotors are useful for gradient centrifugation of biological particles or elements that do not properly participate in conventional gradients. So in comparison to these two, we have swinging bucket rotors. you observe in figure C. The swinging bucket rotors, they are loaded in vertical position, and during the initial acceleration phase, the rotor buckets swing out horizontally and then position themselves at the rotor body for support. Right. So fixed angle rotors are ideal tool for pelleting, and they may also be routinely performed to carry out isopycnic banding, and vertical rotors or near vertical rotors are useful for gradient centrifugation of biological particles, and swinging bucket rotors, they are very much useful wherein they provide maximum radial distance when compared to the fixed angle and near vertical rotors. So to better understand how the separation of particles take place in these three types of rotors, we have a beautiful illustration over here. So this illustration gives an idea of the separation of particle in the three main types of rotors. This figure outlines the path of biological samples during the initial acceleration stage, the main centrifugal separation phase, deacetylation, and the final harvesting of the separated particles in the rotor at rest. See, when a centrifugation run is happening, there are important phases or stages. Number 1, acceleration stage. Number 2, separation stage or phase. Number 3, deacceleration. Number 4, harvesting of separated particles when the rotor is at rest. Right. So here you can understand how the three main types of rotor play a role in separation of particles. In the case of isopycnic centrifugation in a fixed angle rotor, so carefully observe with respect to fixed angle rotor, that means the centrifugation tubes are held at a fixed angle of between 14 degrees and 40 degrees. So what happens here is, in a fixed angle rotor, the centrifuge tubes are gradually filled with a suitable gradient. The sample is carefully loaded on top of this solution, and then the tubes are placed at a specific fixed angle into the rotor cavities. Now you initiate the process of centrifugation. The first phase. During rotor acceleration, the sample solution and the gradient undergo reorientation in the centrifugal field, followed by the separation of particles with different sedimentation properties. That is, different sedimentation rates. In the previous slide, we understood that fixed angle rotors are ideal tool for pelleting during the differential separation of biological particles where sedimentation rates differ significantly. So that is what we are trying to understand over here. During rotor acceleration, what happens is the sample solution and the gradient undergo reorientation in the centrifugal field, followed by the separation of particles with different sedimentation properties. You can observe in figure A. Now the gradient returns to its original position during the deacceleration phase, and separated particle bands can be taken from the tubes once the rotor is at rest. So in analogy, similar reorientation of gradients and banding of particles occur in vertical rotor system. Although run times are reduced, and this kind of rotor can usually hold a large number of tubes, and resolution of separated bands during isopycnic centrifugation is less when compared with the swinging bucket applications. So a greater variety of gradients exhibiting different steepness can be used with swinging bucket rotors. So these are the method of choice when maximum resolution of banding zones is required. Right. So such as an example of red zonal studies, which is based on the separation of biological particles as a function of sedimentation coefficient. Right. So to sum up, this figure is about operation of the three main types of rotors which are used in biochemical centrifugation technique. So the illustration is about the movement of biological samples during the initial acceleration stage, the main centrifugal separation phase, deacceleration, and the final harvesting of separated particles in the rotor at rest. Is that clear? So with this concept, I'll stop my today's discussion. We can continue our discussion on the concepts and principle of centrifugation in the next session. Thank you very much.